some people, the Council of Nine is an alleged group that 34,000 years ago, a group, 9 deities back in ancient Egypt that they're channeling, that they're working for. This is the Council of Nine, according to this site where they're explaining who it is. Right. However, I found something really interesting about the Council of Nine in Greek mythology, which I don't know if it's the same people, but I find it really interesting. So in Greek mythology, the Council of Nine is this. When Prometheus gave fire to mankind, this made Zeus very angry, so he wanted to punish Prometheus. So he got together with a group of council members, 9 of them, which consisted of 9 of these other gods. And then they proceeded to punish mankind by giving them information.
They punished them by
giving... So one of them is positive, and the other one is...
Stop giving me information, please.
The other one is...
Stop it.
This strange Greek mythology. I just thought it was interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
Anyway, for the most part, Star Trek is pretty positive. It's very progressive.
Yeah.
There's a multiracial cast.
A lot of channels are very positive. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, a lot of channels are very positive. I just found that one anecdote about Greek mythology. But most of Star Trek, too, a lot of things with Gene Roddenberry was that he wanted to insert spirituality, but he wanted to take out the religious structures.
I can get down with that.
He grew up like a very kind of strict Catholic, and he kind of did that whole 180 where he went on the other side. But he wasn't saying that religion was bad. He's just said the structure of it wasn't working. And by 2050 or something, we weren't going to have any religious structures, according to him.
But
this is all stuff he channeled.
I feel like that could be correct.
So I think in this experience, Gene and his friend kind of channeling maybe the Council of Nine, hopefully they're good, whatever, he made it his mission.
Whoever these pricks are.
Whoever these assholes are. I don't know who they are. Hopefully they're good.
Council of Nine, if you're listening, I don't agree with what Melissa just said.
I mean, I'm not saying you're bad. Please don't hurt me. Please. So he made it his life's mission that if this is what he was going to do, if he was going to write TV shows, that he was going to insert certain ideals that people could grasp or see for themselves.
Love it.
And he spent most of his life channeling all the characters of Star Trek and most of his other stuff.
Really?
So I find that really interesting. And I know there's other writers out there. There's tons of artists and even scientists and physicists that are doing the same thing. They get downloads of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of, I'm a huge fan of Philip K. Dick, the author.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the author, his books kind of inspired the works of the movies like Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, A Scan Dark, all that sort of stuff.
Nice. Total Recall, top 20 for me.
Yeah.
The first one.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Classic Arnie.
I don't mind Colin Farrell and Kate Beckinsale. I'm just saying they're beautiful to look at, but the first one was better.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, yeah.
Right.
So he had a really kind of rough life. It was a lot of in and out of therapy and a lot of drug use. Like there was a portion of his life where he was just completely hopped up on amphetamines all the time, and so he would write during the day. He was getting very little sleep. And then during the nights, he would help his wife make jewelry because he was his wife was trying to start a business making jewelry, and so he would get just fuck all sleep and then try to just keep taking amphetamines and writing all during the day, and then
this sounds like a typical Hollywood crazy depressed writer.
Yes,
you're right. Yeah. And then stemming from that, he started seeing during this time, he started seeing this giant metal face in the sky that was continually watching him. And throughout his life, he kind of had this
it's love. Stop making jewelry with your wife and go to bed.
Just keep reading. Keep
Have a
writing.
backbone. Tell her no.
Yeah. Yeah. So he kind of thought of it as God.
With a metal face?
Because he had this really weird relationship with religion where he sounded like he was super religion, but he kind of went back and forth where God was this evil entity who controlled man and would like do horrible things to people, and then at the same time he would receive messages and be guided by this same force. This poor guy was a mess, but like with a lot of creative geniuses, man.
Yeah,
this seems to be a common thread where it's just like.
But this is a lot of like techie people up in like Silicon Valley. I mean, they're like geniuses, but
what are they?
Like
what
having
are they
like a conversation, you know?
Yeah, right.
They're in their own world.
So yeah, I mean, I was watching a documentary recently about him, and one of his friends was saying, he did amphetamines and all sorts of other stuff, and actually became like a drug dealer at one point as well. He did, which was crazy. Yeah, his dealer was like, "Man, the real money's in drug dealing. Don't worry about the books because I'm making more every week than you make in a year," kind of thing. And he was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds good.
I'm in." Metal face in the sky is good with it. Let's go.
Yeah, the big metal face said, "We can do this." So, like, his friend was saying, like, he only actually that he knew of did LSD twice. And he said he did them both times because he gave him the LSD to begin with, his friend did. But he said the first time was like great fun and they had this awesome experience. And then they said the second time they did it, Philip K. Dick believed he was like this Roman gladiator all of a sudden.
That's awesome.
And he said the freakiest thing was he started talking in perfect conversational Latin to him.
Whoa.
And he was...
Holy cow.
You know, back in the day when you'd learn Latin at school and stuff, he was picking up words and he was just talking it. You know, like we were talking right now.
So he's legitimately channeling something.
Yeah, so it sounds like that was like it opened up his channeling abilities or whatever.
His third eye opened up.
Yeah.
I've also heard, though, people get traumatic brain injuries. There's a common term for it. They actually come out of it and they can speak another language briefly sometimes.
When you do LSD?
Yeah. Well, no. When they have brain injuries.
Brain injuries. So it's weird that maybe
Yeah.
like the brain injury or the LSD opens something up in your brain quick.
Yeah.
Where suddenly...
You talk with a different accent or something like that as well. Yeah.
Or a whole other language.
Yeah.
That would blow my mind.
Yeah.
Anyways, go on.
Crazy.
Yeah, so he gave a name to this otherworldly force that was kind of behind the scenes guiding him and giving him what he believed was channeled visions as well as like actual messages. And he called it VALIS, VALIS. VALIS. And it was an acronym for Vast Active Living Intelligence System.
Huh.
And it sounds very much like it was kind of this Matrix type situation where he believed we were... It was kind of... It sounded very much like the precursor to the Matrix where it was like this artificial reality that we were kind of living in. And he had all these crazy theories about like time as we know it stopped during like 50 BC or something like that, and then we're just kind of living in this no time, just like really like crazy stuff. You'd think once you've done LSD trips, this is the sort of shit you start talking about.
Yeah, beyond my strangeness.
And he incorporated a lot of this stuff into his books, especially his later books, where it almost became like his kind of running biography of him talking about all these messages he was receiving. Like the first part of his work was more kind of science fiction stories and there's the movies that became huge today, all that kind of stuff. But moving forward, he kind of people say he kind of almost lost the ability to be able to tell a decent story and was just kind of going into this semi-incoherent kind I won't say babble, but really complex
just like
thoughts.
Purely channeling.
Yeah. And so he had these he believed he had this ability to see the future too. So he said I'll tell this one afterwards, but so one of the things he was able to do was his son got really ill at one point and was like having huge problems when he was a baby. And they took him into the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Oh, it's just some mundane thing. He'll get over it." And they came home, him and his wife. He had a lot of wives, actually. He had this issue where it was just like, kind of, it was kind of a sad life that he led, but
sad ladies man.
Yeah, sad ladies man. Yeah, which is the worst kind of ladies man. But anyway, so he when they came back, when they came back
from
sad.
I want to date him.
I can fix him.
God, he sounds dreamy. And when he came back from the doctor,
What's happening?
Kid wasn't getting any better, and during one of these downloads from Valis or whatever he was downloading at the time, it told him precisely what was happening with his son.
Oh, wow.
They took the son to the doctor and said, "This is what's happening." They checked into it, and it was exactly what it was. Some sort of horrible hernia that his son had, and he told the doctor exactly what it was, and down to the exact placement of where it was and everything, and they were able to heal him from there. So that was one of the things, but the craziest thing was he, in a letter to his friend, from one of his friends he was writing, he explained to this friend that he saw this vision of a man lying face down between a couch and a coffee table. And fast forward, I think he died in his 50s, Philip K. Dick, and that's exactly how he died. He had a stroke, and he fell down and landed face down in between a couch and his coffee table. And it was exactly how he saw it, how he described it in the letter as well.
Whoa.
So he saw his own death in a dream,
Wow.
which was crazy.
Did he know? He didn't know it was him, though.
It didn't sound like he knew it was him. No, he just saw this vision of someone lying down like that. And there was like other stories of him growing up, like when he was in college. I think one of the first experiences when he knew, like he thought he was going crazy at the time, but he was in a college exam and he was doing a physics test of some kind. And he was looking through the test and he was like, "I am so fucking out of my depth right now. I don't know any of these questions." And he started to panic and was like looking around the room, and all of a sudden a voice comes into his head and proceeds to tell him every answer, and he ends up getting 100% in the test.
Wow. I needed this.
Yeah, I know. I was like, God damn it. That sounds awesome.
Cheat code.
I want Valis.
Yeah.
I need metal face in the sky or Valis.
Right,
I need it in my
yeah.
life.
And so he had this throughout his entire life where this voice was either telling him answers or telling him the future, or he would see visions of the future as well.
Wow.
But like I said, like really kind of sad life that he led. A lot of problems, and but again, just wrote some of the most amazing sci-fi stories ever.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, that's super compelling. Super interesting.
Cheers to depressed writers.
Thank God for them. Thank God.
Have some coronavirus.
Yeah.
thanks, guys.
Well, you guys dived into channeling inspiration in authors and creativity, which is one form of channeling, which is really, really interesting. I end up, my research led me down a different pathway. Do you ever, sometimes on this podcast, I feel like whatever we choose to do, I might not be into it. Like channeling is not like a Josh topic, I'm not like,
Definitely not.
No, but like I started looking into it, and it was exactly what I needed to be researching for myself, like today and yesterday and the whole last week. It's like sometimes this podcast is what I need, not what I want sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so after the break, I'm going to break down a little bit of some channeling. It's a little different. It's cool. And it also, at one point, it goes into Bigfoot, which is awesome.
Oh, I was just going to ask.
Of course.
I'm so excited. All right.
Oh, so amazing. And then we're also going to do a Nazca update after the break
We
as
are
well,
doing
right?
a Nazca
Just some
update.
sweet new
The Nazca
updates
mummies.
about the Nazca mummies.
Okay.
back.
Exciting stuff. All right, cool.
We'll be right back. All right, we're back. I'm about to break down some crazy channeling shit. It's gonna get to Bigfoot at one point, so just stay tuned. But there's many, many awesome things about this story. So, first of all, channeling. What is channeling? There's different types of channeling, right? The channeling I'm about to go into is a type where you go into a deep meditative state and you let a entity take over your body and speak through you. There's many different forms. Sometimes you're conscious, sometimes you're not. This one is going to be a story about a woman who goes unconscious completely and was recalling, or an entity from another place or time or space was speaking through her.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, so one of the more famous channeling books out there, there's 5 books called The Law of One.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Published between 82 and 98. Don't worry for those people out there who know everything about the Law of One. I'm going to go in a different direction. It's going to be cool.
So calm down.
So take it to break.
Calm down, Law of Oners.
What is the Law of One, though? It's channeling of Ra, right?
The Channeling of Ra. So these books were published between 82 and 98. It was based off 106 channeled conversations or sessions with an alien called Ra. The program that did this and the time it took to do it took place between 1962 and 1981. And what they called it, and I'll get to all the characters in a second, they called it tuned trance telepathy, which is another way of saying channeler.
Right.
The channeler's name was Carla, who was completely unconscious during the sessions. I'm going to get to everything in a second, but I want to start it off with a quote from Ra. Ra is awesome. He starts every conversation, every sentence with, I am Ra. So,
Just in case you were confused.
Yeah, just I am Ra. So I'm